How can you find spring ephemerals and what are they? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, talking about finding nature right outside your front door. I got into spring ephemerals when I was a little kid because where I grew up, they have something called lady slippers, which are orchids, and they are very rare, they're very hard to find, and in some cases they're endangered. But by camping and being in Girl Scouts when I was up in the North Woods, we got a chance to see them. And our troop leader told us about how tender they are, how endangered they are, and that we never cut them and we never do anything to damage the plants. They are very special. Ephemeral means that it's something that blooms only for a very short time. Like we talked about ephemeral ponds. Ephemeral ponds are where they disappear. These come very early in spring. They are a boost to all the pollinators out there who are looking for plants, flowering plants to do. I even have some that are in my yard. There's some lilies and crocuses that just come up in your lawn. You can think of 2 snowdrops and some other things that are just popular in people's backyards, probably never planted in their lives. But those kinds of plants help those pollinators right away before the summer flowers really kick into groove. So it's important, that when you look at them, you can kind of see. And what will happen is they emerge from the ground. They will bloom at somewhere in the end of March to the beginning of May, depending on the flower themselves. They're only there for a brief time, and then they die back, or they just become part of the ground greenery that exists in a forest, but they don't become as prominent as they are. And one of the things that my friend Em and I do all the time is we go look for spring ephemerals. Yesterday, we were bird watching in a national marsh, and one of the areas that you can go hiking through will take you through a forest. And we always go there looking to see if the Dutchman breeches have started blooming. This whole forest is just covered in them, and it's so pretty. They are white plants that look like pants. They look like white pants. And it takes ages for one of those plants to get into a blooming situation. So again, we never want to touch them. We never want to step on them. And we don't want to do anything like cut the flowers off or do anything to damage it. Their whole life cycle is part of that. And not only is it good that the pollinators have them, but it also provides nutrients to the ground inside these woodland forests. They tend to dominate areas like sugar maples and ashes and places that have what they call dappled sunlight, where it's not full sun, but if the leaves get blown around a little bit, the light sometimes shines on them and sometimes they're in shade. They like usually moist and rich soil. And again, timing is crucial, really in that early spring area. And one of the most important things that you can do if you're looking for ephemerals is get yourself a good guidebook, maybe a good camera. There's a couple of apps out there called PlantSnap and Seek, which will help you identify things. PlantSnap is more about taking a picture of a plant and then it tells you what it is. So it's very handy when you're trying to identify these kinds of plants. But Seek is a crowdsource identification. So iNaturalist is kind of the adult version of it. It finds your location and it crowdsources it. So if you find a wildflower, you don't know what it is or you can't figure it out, you can post it there and people will try to help you with it. Seek is more of it's not tracking you. It's not sharing your identification or anything like that. It's great for kids, but it will help you figure out exactly what kind of plant you're seeing on the spot without crowdsourcing. And if they don't figure it out, you can bring it to iNaturalist and it will help you figure it out. So there's all sorts of different types of ephemerals out there. And so you have to kind of get good at being able to identify them. And like I said, writing down when they come. Em, my friend, she records everything. She counts and records everything. So she has a full-blown calendar of everything that she has been able to see and find and when that is. So she's a good part of it. And even my brother and I were at a random state park once walking around, and just in the middle of this one area, we saw a bunch of lady slippers. There are all kind of lady slipper plants. Like I said, they're orchids, pink lady slippers. We sometimes get them here. Showy, giant yellow lady slippers. In our case, we saw the yellow lady slippers, which are the non-giant variety of them, and they're special. When I was hiking in England on my big 100-mile hike in England with my friend, we saw bluebells. They're very rare. We also saw some kind of it's non-invasive garlic. It's a garlic plant, but that was also very pretty that we got to see when we were hiking. Virginia also has bluebells, but if you go to the Rocky Mountain National Park, there is a whole area that has bluebell flowers throughout this entire like mountain valley area. So understanding what it is you have and what you can find. There are also plants out there called bloodroot, and bloodroot is something that is a white flower with a yellow center, and they bloom very early even before their leaves are completely unfurled or taken out. And they have kind of a red root structure in it, and so that's why they're called bloodroot. There's something called trout lily that's more in the Virginia area, but they're yellow flowers with mottled leaves, and someone said that it resembles a brook trout, so that's kind of cool. You'll notice that each of the own areas has their own variety of spring flowers. So you will have something that is native to your particular area of the woods. We also have something here called Jack in the Pulpit, and it's a big leafy green thing that comes out. It shoots out a stem, and then there's a hooded flower that is structured with a central kind of structure in it, and that's Jack. Jack is in the pulpit, and they will produce red berries later in the year. In the Pacific Northwest, they have something called giant snowdrops. We have tiny little snowdrops here in the Midwest. Hardy cyclamen. We get some cyclamens here as well. And they get reticulated irises, blue and purple flowers out in the wild. Rocky Mountain National Park gets pasque flowers. The people who lived in my house before I moved in here grew pasque flowers in the backyard, so I still have a few of them. Glacier lilies, and something called Western Spring Beauty. And these are flowers that are good in high elevations and have a mix of cold and sunny days. And in the Southwest, they get desert sand verbena, desert mariposa lilies, and the desert five spot, which is pink petal. And then each of them has a red spot forming a pentagon pattern in that pattern. So everywhere has their own spring ephemerals. So my challenge to you is go figure out what ephemerals you have in your neck of the woods and see if you can't find it. See if you can't find a plant that's very short-lived, only showing up in spring, and maybe something that you can find not too far away. Timing is crucial. They're only here for a short time. My friend, she keeps detailed records about when stuff blooms, when it comes out, and when it's gone. She knows at the right time when to look at it. And bring a book, get a guidebook about different types of wildflowers so that when you see them, you understand what it is. A good camera, notebooks if you're going to keep notes, and even there's some good apps out there that will help you identify some of these. So if you understand a little bit more about them, they might enhance your spring too. It is so much fun to see what it is that's out there at every time of the year. And now is the time to get out there and go see yourself a spring ephemeral plant. So that's my challenge to you. Go find something that's in your neck of the woods and then go see if you can't find them. Get out there and go see a spring ephemeral. Everyone, thanks so much. I appreciate you listening and watching this podcast. I have now brought this to YouTube. I'm hoping to bring nature right outside your front door to more people. This is a podcast that is not such a deep dive into science, but just understanding a little bit more about what's going on in nature around your neighborhood, around the places you live. I would love to hear from you. And if you have anything that you found, I'd love to see a picture of it. You can find me here on YouTube. You can find me at my podcast, and you can find me on Twitter as well.